Welcome back to Dom's Corner, everybody. I am your host, Dom Martino, and sitting next to me is Miss Sammy Ramirez. Sammy, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
Great,
Excited.
great. And we are continuing the DCEU reviews with Justice League, not Justice League, what am I talking about? Batman v
Well,
Superman,
before.
the
Yeah.
theatrical cut. But we are leading into Zack Snyder's The Justice League, which is going to be coming out here pretty soon, and we're trying to get through all of these films before that happens. And we've also done Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman 84 on the channel, so make sure you guys go and check those out. Been mostly doing these with Jareth Love, but today I decided to bring in Sammy Ramirez due to some scheduling conflicts, but we are happy to have her, and it's nice to have variety.
Okay.
But hey guys, before we get started here today, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comments section, and before Jareth slaps me, hit the bell for notifications, because he's always asking me to make sure I plug that in here as well. But anyway, guys, we're going to get on with it. So the way that, just for Sammy's purposes, though I don't know if you've seen them, but the way that Jareth and I have been structuring the DCEU reviews is we've just been basically making these just full-on spoiler conversations. Nothing like, we don't like structure them like the Potter ones. We're just kind of having just full-on spoiler conversations. But my first question to you is, watching the theatrical cut after a certain period of time, once again. And actually, I guess my first question to you, just real quick here, have you seen the ultimate cut?
I believe that I'm pretty sure that I have. I haven't sseen the whole thing all the way through, so halfway, maybe not. I've seen most of it. I've seen a lot of the extended scenes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just asking just so maybe you could have a comparison, but like mostly the conversation is going to
Yeah.
revolve around theatrical cut anyway, which I know you rewatched. And so
Yes.
watching this after a certain amount of years, or however long it's been, like, how do you feel about the theatrical cut now?
So here's the thing. I Before going into this rewatch, I would have told you that like I hated this movie, that I thought it was complete garbage and I did not like it at all. Because I only saw it really once in theaters and didn't really like it enough to ever really revisit it. And I kind of just forgot about it in my mind and was just not that big of a fan. But on this second rewatch, I don't know what it was, but I found a new, I guess, respect for it. I
Sure.
definitely don't think it's absolute garbage. I definitely enjoy a lot of it. It's overall, I think, it's a well-made movie in that it achieves a lot of the things that it's trying to get across very well, and its character development
Right.
it achieves where they want the characters to be. And I
Yeah.
do, because I remember like just not really understanding or being on the same page with either Superman or Batman the first time I saw it, and this time now rewatching it, I completely understood both of their sides this time. So I upon second rewatch, it got better
Good.
somehow. Yeah.
Good. I mean, okay, so my feelings on the theatrical cut, I mean, I'll go from the first time I saw it, which, by the way, guys, there is going to be an ultimate cut discussion coming as well. That one is going to be with Jareth, so stay tuned for that if you want to hear about our ultimate cut opinions. That will be coming up. But as far as the theatrical cut goes, I'll kind of talk about the first time I saw it and then leading into now. So the first time I saw, I've never disliked this movie. Like, I actually have never disliked this movie. I found this movie to be incredibly problematic the first time I saw it. And honestly, I feel about the same way now. I still like the movie. Like, I find the problems. I think it's incredibly choppy, incredibly messy, especially when we're talking about the first half of the film. But when we see it all kind of come into the end here, when we get to the second half, it's like the thought just stays in my mind that there is a good movie in this. Like, in there.
Absolutely.
It's in there, but we have to piece it together ourselves because they have cut so much. Hence, now they've released the ultimate cut of this, which turns out it's like, oh boy, that got well improved. But just to keep in the basis of this discussion, I rewatching it, I felt the same way. Even though I've seen the Ultimate Cut, I was rewatching this, going like, this is just still incredibly choppy. It doesn't fill in a lot of the gaps that we need. We're kind of jumping from thing to thing so quickly that we don't really get time to set up everything that is going to come later. And it hurts it. It really hurts it. It's just, and that's unfortunate because again, we I think a lot of people would agree, well maybe not, I don't know, but I think there is still like fans out there that would agree that as choppy as this movie is, again, there is a good movie within this. Like it's there, but we can almost see like that there was interference going on with the studio and the filmmaker, and it's that evident when we're watching it, and we're realizing like, wow, it really is like they're cutting so much from the film. So yeah, and it almost makes like some of the earlier scenes feel like unnecessary in a way, but on the same hand, they are very necessary, but we just need to see the full version of it in order to really appreciate it. I'll talk about like one of the things I can't stand is most of the beginning. I mean, because the thing like going from Lois to
It's so choppy.
it's just, yeah, we're like, what is she doing here? How did Superman find her location? Why does he know she's there? What's her whole purpose? What's going on in this movie with
Yeah.
Lois Lane?
How does he always just know? How does he just always know? He could be climbing in the Himalayan mountains a bajillion miles away and still know that she's falling from a building somewhere.
Right. Yeah. And again,
How does
it's
he know?
all stuff we get filled in on later if we
Yeah.
see the ultimate cut of the movie. You get filled in on
Oh, do you
all of
really?
it. And
Okay.
yeah, well, yeah, it's a military operation. So, we find that out in the ultimate cut. It's like an actual military operation going on. There's a lot of communications going around about it. And so, like, it was a big deal. So, like, yeah, Superman's going to know where she's going. Here, this is like, what the hell? Why is she here? What is she doing? Like, what does this matter at all? And then Superman just comes crashing down, takes out the bad guys, then boom, we're done with that, and then we're on to, I don't know what's next. They just jump to like some of the Batman branding stuff, and then they jump to the bathtub scene, and these are my biggest problems
There's the
with the
whole
movie.
the Bruce Wayne origin story as well, with the graveyard and him falling in the bats and the death of Martha and
Yeah.
dad, I forget his name.
Yeah, which is like restructured ever so slightly in the ultimate to where it's like it's a little
I
bit
did,
better, but like
yeah.
here there's something about the way that it's all structured that I kind of felt like it was weird editing. Like it was like they were trying to take parts out of it, and I don't quite know why. It's not like the scene played incredibly violent in either cut. So like when I'm watching this theatrical cut of it, it just didn't make sense as to why it was so cut, or so like edited together the way that it was, when there's clearly like a better way to go about it. And that, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just everything that just jumping to see from scene to scene, it just feels so choppy. But the nice thing about talking about this theatrical cut is like we get to talk about the good and the bad, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because like the good stuff is definitely in here. Now, I'll say this is my solid feeling on Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne Batman. I think he's incredible in the role. I think that he is he kills it in that role. Like I love his version of it. Like I told everybody like before the movie came out that like if this movie sucks, Ben Affleck isn't going to be the problem. Even though people were bitching about the fact that he'd been cast, I told everybody, I was like, I promise you Ben Affleck will kill it in this role. And I was right. He did an incredible job. Everything that like his entire interpretation to me was like just very, it was the approach that I think that that I've always wanted to see, which is that he is always Batman. Bruce Wayne is very secondary. Like Bruce Wayne is like the facade he puts on, and it's shown so much in the part where he's walking around the party or Lex Luthor's house talking to like Cavill. It's like that facade, that's Bruce Wayne. Every other time in the movie, he's Batman. He's putting on the Batman. That's who he is. Like, he is Batman every other time. What he's showing at the party is the facade. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, to me, that's just like the approach that he took here. And it's not my favorite iteration of Batman. Michael Keaton's still my favorite iteration of Batman, but it's still, because it was so different, I just appreciated it so much. You know, I just thought it was so fresh, and he had a really hot take on it. I love everything in the beginning with him when he's driving through the city, and you know, he sees Superman up flying through the sky. Just the anger on his face, like when they're zooming in. I'm like, damn, Ben, you killed it. This performance is like, it's incredible. Like, that's one thing about the movie, that it's still very strong within it. I wish we would have gotten a little more fleshed out on what he was doing here, but like, for the most part, like, we're understanding like where he's coming from, why he's upset, you know, and I think that that's something that is still done decently in this theatrical cut for the most part. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
So I feel a bit differently about Ben Affleck. To me, I honestly can't even really put my finger on it, but he just does not fully read Bruce Wayne Batman to me. He always just kind of comes off as like an actor trying really hard to be Bruce Wayne and Batman, but not fully embodying the character. Like, it's an actor trying really, really hard, but he just doesn't fully get there for me.
Interesting.
Every time I see him, I'm like, he's trying so hard. He's just not quite there for me yet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. That's an interesting take. It's even more interesting to me, because I feel like most people who hate this movie still said that Ben Affleck did a good job in it. So it's
He's doing a good job.
take.
He's doing, I think, his best.
Yeah.
I think he's doing all that he can.
I don't know. I find him to be incredible. Like, that's one of the things in this movie, is like, I felt like the casting was pretty on point for the most part. Like, I think that Gal Gadot, like, I mean, obviously this introduced us to the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, and she's doing really great stuff. My problem is like, now that I've seen Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84, I wish those movies would have came first, because I would have felt the impact of her presence, I feel like, so much more, because like, I think that the direction that Zack Snyder took her character was it's actually pretty fitting to the Wonder Woman we know. I just feel like the problem is we don't have that information prior, so we're not really feeling the impact of it. However, for what she had to do in the movie, I like her. Like, I think that she still plays the role to the best of her ability, but it's this version in this, you know, future Wonder Woman that, you know, as opposed to the one we're used to, that we didn't have prior, and so it just doesn't feel fleshed out either. But that said, you know, she is doing the best that she can. I actually like the interactions between her and Ben Affleck. I think that's some of the stronger stuff in the movie for sure. Like, I like their storyline and where all that's kind of going. Like, they're both trying to hack into Lex's information, you know, for two different reasons, and I actually like that, how their paths kind of intercross, you know, in the film. Like, I think that stuff really works. But what do you think?
Yeah, oh yeah, Gal Gadot is absolutely, I think, incredible. She, to me, like, is Wonder Woman. She is Diana Prince to me.
Yeah.
So I think she's absolutely incredible. There is like, I don't want to say like 7 degrees of separation, but it does feel like there's a big degree of separation between Patty Jenkins's version of Wonder Woman and Zack Snyder's version of Wonder Woman. Like, I definitely feel that they're not and you can say that that's, you know, because it's older in time and we're going back in time in those, so she's a different person, a different character. But what we see of her in this, it's too big of a degree of separation to fully understand what's going on with her. So I guess, yeah, I agree. I wish we would have gone those movies ahead of time, or at least more time to understand.
And honestly, that's a criticism that rings true in both the theatrical cut and the ultimate cut. Like, I feel like that's one of the criticisms that lingers into the ultimate, you know, is like, I still wish they would have released those two movies first, you know, just to have that little extra impact on it. But again,
Yeah.
what she was being used for here, I think it works. You know what I mean? And again, the interactions between her and Bruce Wayne are they work really well.
Hmm.
Another one of the unsung heroes of the film, and in my opinion, no pun intended, is Henry Cavill as Superman. Though Henry Cavill playing Superman, he every time I'll say the same thing I said about him in the Man of Steel review. He's amazing to me. Like, I think that the
Hmm.
way he plays Superman is he has such a great approach. I love Henry Cavill just in general. I think he's a really awesome dude in real life. Like, it seems like he's a really awesome dude. Total nerd, and just one of these guys
Totally.
you could tell he's just a fan, and like
He started liking football because of the Kansas City Chiefs, because he was like, "Oh, Superman would probably like them.
right.
Let me see if I like them." And
Right.
now he's like their biggest stan in the world.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
anytime I hear a new thing about like a news story about Henry Cavill,
Yeah.
I love the
You're
man
just like,
even
"Oh,
more,
yeah."
because it's always good news. There's never bad news
Right.
surrounding Henry Cavill, and so like
Yeah.
his presence here, whether he's like an Oscar winning actor or not, that's a different conversation. I'm just saying that there's something about the way he commands the screen and his presence, and the way that he approaches this in a way that he feels like an actor who wants to be here, like he is having so much fun doing this. Like, that's how he always feels to me, and I think that he is like one of the most consistently committed actors that I've seen on screen in anything he's doing, because he's given it his all, whether he's Geralt of
Yeah.
Rivia in The Witcher, or in Mission Impossible Fallout, or if he's Superman. He's just, everything he's always doing is just it's awesome. Like that Immortals movie that he did a while back, it's not like the greatest movie in the world, but I love it because of Henry Cavill's like presence in that movie. Like,
I never
I
saw
think
it.
he's a really just incredible talent, wonderful presence, and he just, yeah, he's an awesome Superman. Please, JJ, bring him back to the fold. I'm begging you, please. But anyway, I want to see him back as in this role again,
Yeah.
outside of the Snyder Cut. So, but my point is like, he to me is one of the unsung heroes. The problem with this movie is the in the theatrical cut anyway, is the relationship that him and Lois Lane have. It's very disconnected. It feels disconnected in this theatrical cut. It's very you don't
Yeah.
really get a lot of preface to it. And Amy Adams is a good actress too, and I actually like her Lois Lane a lot. By the way, like, I don't want to like take that away from her, because the way that she plays Lois, and it's more
Yeah.
fascinating to watch her, which we didn't get a lot of in this cut of the movie, unfortunately. But it's more fascinating to watch Lois when she's just off doing her own thing, more than it is watching her and Clark together. You know what I mean? So like, I wanted more of that in this cut of the movie, more of Lois doing her own thing, because the chemistry between her and Clark, it's just not there, unfortunately, as much as I would personally hope. But again, Amy Adams as an individual and playing the role is doing well. And Henry Cavill, same thing. He's doing incredibly well with the role. It's just this disconnect that you feel between her and Lois is where the problem lies. Him and Lois is where the problem lies. And that's unfortunate, because I feel like that could have been one of the stronger suits to the film. Obviously, when I saw the ultimate cut, I felt it much more than this cut had to offer. But like, here, to me, it felt so disconnected when I rewatched this. But yeah, what do you
Hmm.
got on that?
I mean, so I gotta take it back real quick because I have kind of a hot take. I love Henry Cavill. I think he is incredible as Superman. I think the way he commands that role. Like, I'm thinking specifically when he walks into the hearing with Congress,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone just goes silent. He's just walking in, you feel like a god just walked into this room
yeah,
full of humans. Like, you feel the weight of that, and that is absolutely incredible, and that's a testament to just his presence. However, I don't think I like Superman. I This has been a big thing. I don't It's hard for me to say that I don't like Superman, but the more that I think about it, I don't think I just don't like Superman.
hmm.
I don't really like Lois Lane that much either. I think Amy Adams, though, is an incredible Lois Lane as well. I think she is a better Lois Lane than the movies ever give her credit for.
Yeah.
I
She's
think.
great as in the role. I hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think the acting in it is great. I just don't think I like the characters. Like every time I think about like their whole relationship, their everything about the character of Superman, it's hard for me to suspend my belief on a lot of that stuff. And I appreciate it, I respect it, I understand what the
Interesting.
character means, and thematically I understand it all and I appreciate it. I just don't think I like it. It's
I mean,
just not a fan of
I'll
Superman.
be 100% real in terms of like the comic book characters of DC. Like Superman is like very low on my list. I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. Like I really am not like a huge fan of Superman. I love the original Richard Donner version with Christopher Reeve. I just think that
Hmm.
there's something so classic about that film, and I also love the Donner cut of Superman 2. But any other Superman adaptation they've tried to do, I'm not really for. That said, the approach I feel like that Snyder took with Superman is what makes me appreciate him, because
Hmm.
this is such a different version of the Superman that we've seen. This is a Superman that
Right.
makes mistakes and struggles
Right.
and does things wrong, and that's why I love this Superman, because he's human. He feels more humanized, and so like the fact that like
Agreed.
like Snyder took that approach with him, like in Man of Steel. If it wasn't for Man of Steel, I probably would go into this movie going, "Oh man, this is a real bummer of a character." But because I saw the direction they were trying to go with Superman and Man of Steel, I grabbed this whole new appreciation, and I thought that Henry Cavill, yes, he embodies everything that you want about Superman. If we were gonna make like who's the perfect actor to play Superman right now, it's Henry Cavill. Like honestly, like
Absolutely.
he really is. But the problem with that is it's like or not the problem, the difference with Cavill is the approach of it's something about the way he delivers his lines too that I feel like really humanizes this version of Superman a little more closely to the Donner version, except this is one that I think struggles a lot more than we've seen in original cuts
Mhm.
of the Superman stuff. Like I like those older ones, but like I the first two, I just feel like every single one after that, unfortunately, kind of tanked the character for me. And then anytime
Mhm.
I've read him in the comics, it's not one I care about much. But because Snyder was like, I want to take this character in a different direction, bring you a Superman you haven't really seen before, and a version of that, and that's what makes
Mhm.
me really appreciate him more. And especially here, especially like the fact that you come to this point in this film. Well, before we get into that, let's talk about Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, because this is one of the more divisive points
Yeah.
about this film. So I'm gonna be real with you. I'll tell you what.
I have mixed thoughts.
I'll tell you my honest
Yeah.
opinion
Hmm.
upon a rewatch, because I've always had problems in this element of the film. Here's my honest opinion upon rewatching it. The performance of by the way, I want to mind you that I have the same problems with the Lex character in this cut that I do in the ultimate cut as well. Like I have the same problems in both cuts, but because most of the Lex stuff honestly plays about the same in both the ultimate and the theatrical. So just so everybody knows, but okay, so I've always had problems surrounding this character, and I think I figured out why this is. Because okay, now like I was talking about Superman before, right? And how he gave us
Right.
like a different version of that. Like Snyder gives us like a different kind of version and different take on Superman, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I know a lot of people aren't because it's different from the comics, but to me it's like okay, but he still embodies Superman. Like Cavill still embodies that role well enough to where I buy this as a version of Superman. The
Hmm.
problem with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor for me is it's actually, I'll tell you what, because I watched both cuts in a row, the performance grew on me. I
Mm.
actually
Yeah.
like the performance itself. Like it grew on me. My problem is that he's playing Lex Luthor.
Right.
If this wasn't Lex Luthor, I would love this performance a lot more. He could have been anybody else. And again, I'm all for giving different takes on characters. Don't get me wrong. I am. I think that that's actually important that filmmakers come in with a new vision and a new take on a character that we never seen before. But the problem with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is that there's not even a shred of anything about him that is Lex Luthor. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
except for the fact that he's trying to take down Superman and that he's messing around with kryptonite, there's not even a shred of Lex Luthor in that character,
Hmm.
in this performance that he's given. I feel like he could have just been anybody else, and like this would have worked because, yeah, this is not Lex Luthor. This is Twitchy McTwitcherson just going, hey, like I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm okay with the eccentricness of it. My problem is that it's supposed to be Lex and it's not Lex. So I'm not sure what the take was supposed to be. My theory, and maybe we'll see this, is because just judging by the post-credit scene in the theatrical cut of the Justice League, judging by that alone, I almost feel like the performance he was given in that post-credit scene was a little bit closer to Lex Luthor that we know. So, like, I feel like they were trying to take him from this, like, extremely eccentric, like, weirdo and evolve him into the Lex Luthor that we know. So if I look at it that way, which again, I can't prove that, maybe we'll find out here in a couple weeks that that is what they were going to do. You know, who knows? It could be really cool. And we might look back on it and go, oh, hey, that's amazing. But my problem is, again, is that it feels so detached from a Lex Luthor personality that I just don't buy into it. Like, yes, Lex Luthor is incredibly strange, but he's not so strange to the point where he's like so obnoxious. The one scene that he does really well in, however, is the one where he's sitting in the room with the painting and, you know, the red capes are coming. I think he does incredibly well in that scene. I want to hand him all the credit in the world because right there I felt a little bit of that Lex Luthor, you know what I mean? A little bit more maniacal, a little more villainous than I think he's been. He doesn't come off as like a villain type. He just comes off as this kid who's just really weird, who's just trying to find ways to take down Superman, wants some power in his life, and I think the explanation for his motivation becomes very convoluted in both cuts of the film. Like I feel like it does, and that's something that like Snyder kind of struggles with. I felt this way about Zod and Man of Steel. Like I feel like when it comes down to like explaining the motivation. Like he picks like Zod is an incredible bad guy, and the way Michael Shannon played him in Man of Steel was great. But like when it comes down to like explaining motivations of villains, I feel like is where Zack Snyder struggles just a little bit, because I felt the same way here about Lex Luthor. We don't really have a motivation that's like it's there, but you gotta like it's like if you blink you miss it. You know what I mean? Because it's like it comes in and goes, the whole explanation of his motivations, and it's very shorthanded, and that's where my problem mostly lies with this. But again, I like the performance. I think it's a good performance, but it's not Lex Luthor, and that's the problem. But they could have been trying to evolve him into that eventually, which maybe we'll never know, or maybe we'll find out in a couple weeks here, you know, what he was trying to do here. But anyway, Sammy, what do you got on Jesse Eisenberg's Lex?
I honestly, I most of the time I feel like he's doing a cartoon character. He's trying to do I think he's trying to do Jack Nicholson Joker, but it's coming off as a cartoon character. That's
Right.
how I feel kind of overall. And I mean, in some cases that could work. Like there's definitely a movie where that character works, and there are moments where it works, and those antics like add to the movie, but overall it's like it just comes off as cartoony, and it just comes off as like just annoying. And I agree. And I also, another thing is I watched parts of the extended cut. I just like fast forwarded to moments that I thought would have extended scenes, and so I watched the end as well. And it like shocked me that so in the theatrical cut they don't mention that Lex Luthor is being moved to Arkham Asylum, and in the extended cut Batman mentions that
True.
at the end of the interrogation. That like shocked me because I was like,
That's true.
you're just not gonna tell you're just gonna not tell people that like that's a huge plot point that could come up later.
That's true.
That
That's
that
another thing they
threw me
cut.
back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they might. Like, you never know. Like, we'll see in a couple weeks here. They might actually follow up on this, and it might be, like, awesome. I mean, you got
Yeah.
4 hours worth of movie. I hope you would. But,
Right.
like, I feel like when the Snyder Cut comes out, we might see, like, oh, he was actually going to evolve him into, like, a Lex that we know. Because right there at the end, once he gets his head shaved and stuff, we're starting to see kind of of a slightly different
It's
type of performance there. It's starting to evolve
exactly,
a little bit. So that's kind
as
of
I
where
think,
it
right?
lies for me. It's like maybe
Yeah,
he was trying to evolve him, not start, not piss
right.
people off so much. Like he understands this is going to be obnoxious. That's another thing too, is like Zack Snyder, with as over the top as his style is, that's another reason I don't mind this performance so much, is because Zack Snyder's style is kind of over the top anyway. It kind of meshes there
Mhm.
perfectly. The problem is, again, it's Lex Luthor, and it just, there's not even a shred of that in here.
Yeah,
And by the way, I like the performance, but I don't blame anybody who comes out of this going, I fucking hated that, because
absolutely.
it's really, I could get it. I get it where you're coming from, because, man, I probably felt the same the first time I watched it. It's like, oh man, that didn't come off anywhere near the mark where I wanted it to. So
Hmm.
I get it, believe me. But like, it
Yeah,
just, the
and I
performance
yeah.
itself grew on me. Like I see, like Jesse Eisenberg, he feels committed to it. You know what I mean? That's another thing I really like about it, is like, regardless if you think it's obnoxious or whatever, he feels incredibly committed to it. Regardless, like I think
Yeah.
he is committed. So I don't hate the performance. I just hate what comes with that, I guess. It just, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's kind of where I'm
Hmm.
at with it. It's just,
Yeah.
I like the commitment though. I do appreciate
Hmm.
it. Like the commitment is good. He is consistent, and yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
and I think that's the thing that immediately after he goes into prison and has his head shaven, you see a shift in his character. He's still kind of a bit cartoony, but there's definitely a shift, which
Yeah,
I think I totally agree, because that leads you to believe that maybe they were just evolving the character, and that was, his young years, and now this is where the shit happened, and
which
now we're getting into real Lex Luthor.
might be really cool if we get it followed up on.
It's set up that
That
way.
could be really
Right.
cool. And again, like they did put it in the post credit scene of the Justice League. In the post credit scene, you see the
Mhm.
bald Lex, and you're like, oh, this is a little bit closer to the
Yep.
Lex I would have wanted. So maybe that was the plan the whole time. I don't know. Maybe that post credit scene was taken from the Snyder cut of Justice League, you know what I mean? So maybe
Hmm.
that's kind of what they were wanting to do, but who knows? I think it's
Yeah.
it could be cool. I hope people are patient, and just, we'll see what happens, guys. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
Fingers are crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers are crossed.
Yeah, I would love. I root for actors in general. Like if an actor gives a
Hmm.
good, like the Jared Leto thing, you know what I mean? Like people don't
Right.
like the Jared Leto performance, but I still root for him to come back and just give us something great. Like that's all I
Hmm.
want from him. I'm not a big fan of
Exactly.
Hayden Christensen, for example, in the prequels, but I hope he comes back in this Obi-Wan series and just destroys and then like blows everybody's minds. Like I
Same.
root for actors, you know what I mean? I don't want any performance to be bad at the end of the day. So I just feel like it's something that we might need to be patient on, and maybe we'll actually see where the vision was going to go, and
Hmm.
we might be more on board with it at that point. But we'll see. And then the other one you and I got to talk about, because I know you and I are both fans of this. Jeremy Irons is Alfred. We have to talk about this
The
because
man, the
yes,
man carrying this movie on his shoulders. Jeremy Irons as Alfred is the best part about this movie.
he's
My
so great.
favorite part.
He is so great.
He's so good. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's
just just constantly, I'm trying to remember the exact line that he said, so I don't want to butcher it, but he has two moments where he's just like trying to get Bruce Wayne married so bad. It's just not happening. I don't remember the line specifically, but they're so good. And Jeremy Irons is just one of my favorite
he's so
actors
great.
working, period. I think he's one of the absolute best actors
He's
working.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and just what he brings to this role, he brings such a sass and like energy to it that is, and it's just absolutely I think it matches Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne perfectly. It's the peanut butter to the jelly. It's just the best. My favorite part of this movie is Jeremy Irons as Alfred. That's my favorite part,
Hey, that's fair.
absolutely,
That's fair.
hands down.
I think he's awesome. I really
Mhm.
love that he's given a different Alfred than we've seen in the past. That's another thing I
Exactly.
really like about. He's a little bit more young and spry than Alfreds
Hmm.
that I think we've seen in the past. Nothing wrong with those Alfreds. I like those Alfreds. It's the cookie cutter version that we'd
Yeah.
expect from an Alfred. But Jeremy Irons is doing something very different. He feels much more he feels less of a, I don't mean this in a bad way, he feels like he's less of a guardian to Bruce Wayne and more of a friend, you know what I mean? Like he looks at Bruce Wayne as more of like a brother than a son. I feel like the Alfreds in the past have kind of looked at him as like a son. I know people are going to have problems with that, but personally I really like that interpretation. I think it's something new, and I think Jeremy Irons plays it to a T, to where I buy it, you know what I mean? I think Ben Affleck and him have great chemistry in the film. Like, that's another thing, they really have good chemistry together. And I believe that these two have been together for years, and they've grown a relationship, and that's one of the key things to any Bruce Wayne Alfred relationship, is you got to feel like they've been together for a long time, you know what I mean? Otherwise it just doesn't work out, and that's something that is achieved incredibly in this film. 100%. Another thing that's amazing in this movie, and they kind of like, I think they expanded on it ever so slightly in the Ultimate one, but in this theatrical one, it's a little shortened, but it still plays really well, is when the guy without the legs climbs up on the Superman statue and like does a spray paint thing. That's one of the great moments in this movie. It kind of brings it full circle from the beginning, when we saw him in the beginning, and just like, I was like, yeah, this is really, really cool, and really fun little aspect to bring into it.
It's one of those moments where, like you said before, where there's so many things that you feel like are not important that you can skip over, and then you watch it again and you realize, like, oh, that was important. It comes back later. Like, when you see him, when Bruce Wayne like lifted the thing, you're like, oh, that's just like a whatever. You're the boss, throw it away. And then little do we know how much that comes into play later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Another person, great casting, by the way, in this movie is, I talked about this in Man of Steel as well, as Lawrence Fishburne as Perry, the newspaper head. He's so great in this role every time. He works so strong in this role, like the way that he's just, I like him and Lois's relationship probably more than I like Clark and Lois's relationship in this movie. I think that those two just, they create really funny banter between one another, and they just do an incredible job together. When they're on screen, and he is so funny, and like, even when he's with Clark, they work together really, really well. Like, I think that Lawrence Fishburne kind of plays, he's part of the glue that's holding this thing together as well. Like, I feel like him and Jeremy Irons just got together and were like, all right, we got to fix this thing. What are we gonna do?
Exactly. We got to bring some life into this somehow. It's you and me.
Yeah, maybe not fix it as much as just bring the life into it. Like, they do. Exactly. They're very colorful characters, and they really come alive in these movies.
And while Jeremy Irons has like the funniest lines in this movie, Lawrence Fishburne has, to me, the funniest moment in maybe the whole DCE. One of the funniest moments ever.
Which one was that? The very end, when they open the same thing.
It's at the very end when he's picking up the newspapers and he opens it, and the headline is like, Superman is dead, and it's a picture of Superman and everything, and then he opens the next page and there's a small little block for, oh, Clark, our dearly beloved Clark Kent has also died. It's just a coincidence. They look like each other, died at the same day.
Yeah.
Coincidentally at this, like, I can't even I told you the story earlier, but like, when I saw this movie in theaters, I died laughing. I laughed so hard because that is the one thing it bugs the hell out of me, that I know it's essential for these stories to happen, but I'm like, no, but he wears glasses. Yeah. The only difference is the man wears glasses, people. You work with this man. Yeah. You work with him. And you can see their pictures right next to each other and be like, oh, that's weird. What a coinky dink. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is true.
I cannot even tell you how hard I laughed for the rest of the movie. I just kept thinking about it. Yeah.
Actually, I'm not going to talk about my favorite Lawrence Fishburne moment in the movie, because I don't even think it's in this cut of the film. So I got to be honest with you. Yeah. It's there's a funny little scene where him and Lois are arguing about the flight that she's going to take. I don't think.
There's a part in it I remember where he's like, you're flying coach, no extra legroom, and she's like, economy plus.
Right, and that's the like, one. No. I love that line. Yeah. I love that moment. Yeah.
It's just like those like three little lines.
Yeah, and then he goes, coach. Okay, it is in here then. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was even in this cut or not, because it's not followed up on very much, but in this cut, that's for sure.
It's just it's just a funny little little bring some life into this moment.
Yeah, no, I mean they actually follow up on it in the Ultimate, but at least
Oh,
it made
really?
it in the movie. The funny part of it, just at least
Nice.
that made it in. But
Yeah.
I love there's something about I tell you when Ben Affleck is going around, when he's talking to people, just casual people. There's something about, again, that facade he puts on as Bruce Wayne. I like when he said something about like I met a ballerina and she only taught me the few words or something like that. Like when he was trying to speak like Russian to a guy to distract him, like that was really good.
Yeah.
Every interaction that him and Clark Kent have together, it's really incredible. Like I think that stuff works really well. I love the Daily Planet. Do I own this one?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Like that's just the
Yeah.
way he does it and delivers it. Like I love that whole party thing. We kind of touched on that a little bit. Let's kind of talk about, I guess, the second half of the film, which is like the action, like the big stuff. Well, first of all,
Right.
let's talk about how amazing the moment was. The first action scene, which is like, my opinion still pretty much stands the same here. Is like I love the first action sequence with Batman just like going through the boats and everything, and like that stuff was like really amazing. Like it was so grounded to a point where it was a little bit more of what I would have liked for the action at the end, which I do feel is like a little more over the top. But just talking about this moment, the first action sequence that we really get, and then Batman just tell me, do you bleed? Oh my gosh, that's such a good line.
You will.
That is such a good line. It's good. It's great. I love it. Love that line.
And it comes back. It does come back around.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like the kind of Home Alone, sort of thing that we get here where Batman's setting up booby traps for Superman is like, it's a lot of fun to watch. It's entertaining as all hell.
Yeah.
That's one of the
It's
things.
just fun to be like, he spent time. He and Alfred are the only two people in the world who know about this. So it was one of the two who set this up, and it was Batman.
Yeah.
He had to plan for this ahead of time.
100%. Like I love this. This is one of the things I'll say about the movie. As messy as choppy as it is, I just find this movie to be so damn entertaining because like when you get to the action, it's so entertaining. Like you can't deny that the action it went to a level that we've never really seen these types of movies go before. And like the fight between Batman and Superman, as cut short as it might have felt, like it's still so great. I mean, it's done incredibly well. It's fun to watch. That's like where a lot of the meat of this really starts to come in. It's shot well. It's really well shot action. That's another thing about it. And like the way that it's all done, it doesn't really feel messy. But then we get to this Martha thing, which has caused a lot of division amongst fans. So I'll start with you. What's your opinion on the Martha thing?
Honestly, I don't hate it. I've never really hated it. Even the first time I saw it, that wasn't one of my like big gripes with it. I wasn't like, oh, it was so stupid. They're both their own name, they're Martha. Because I mean, because to me, like it humanizes both of them. It takes them out of their superpowers for a moment, realizes that they're just two guys and there's a bigger power at stake in it. It humanizes them, and that's because the big thing is, I remember when this movie was coming out, people were like, it's the same discussion we're having right now with Kong and Godzilla, like who's gonna win in the fight? Right. Who you got taking who down? And it's at some point they're gonna have to team up or eventually because I mean, come on, like Superman wins every time. Like it's not a contest.
Not here.
Same with Godzilla. Godzilla wins every time.
Batman was going to win this fight.
You bring in supernatural powers. Yeah, you bring in like laser eye and like you bring in that stuff in. Superman, the alien wins every time. So in order for like it not to be the easy, just the most powerful person wins, you have to have something that connects them, and to bring it to that human level, I thought was all right. I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, I think, it could have been better. I don't know necessarily how, but I enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. Actually, to me, it is better in the Ultimate Cut, by the way, because they kind of preface it with a lot of different things. I feel like in the investigative side of things, like I feel like that because they flesh that out in the Ultimate Cut, the Martha moment becomes better. But I'm with you here too. In the theatrical, I've never hated this moment. I always thought it was really good. I thought it was a nice little sort of misdirect. Like everybody again was like kind of wanting to see Batman v Superman being Batman and Superman just fighting, and they added another element to this, and I think that that actually plays pretty well, considering the fact that we needed something here at the end to really win us over on these guys who are both just a pile of fuck ups at this point, let's be honest. So we needed something to be able to put a stopper to that. Like what do you want, Batman to kill Superman? Because that's doesn't make sense. Like, let's be real. Like, yes, Batman, I believe, did win this fight, like 100%. But like, if we're going to set up the Justice League, we cannot
I think
have
only
him kill
because
Superman.
Superman let him. Could have killed him easily at any moment.
Which is possible too.
But
I'm
yes.
not going to sit here and say that it's not. Like, that's honestly a possibility for sure. You're probably right about that. But honestly, like,
but within the context of the movie, he had him down.
He did have him down. Like, if we were thinking it on surface level, he did have him down. But like, that does me, like, the thing is like none of it matters when we get here, because it's like, now we're getting into what I think
we gotta save Martha.
We gotta save Martha, and like that made a lot of sense to me. His mom's name is Martha. Batman's mom's name is Martha. It's not like that wasn't set up here in the theatrical.
Yeah,
it's still
not like
there.
It's a huge stretch.
Yeah,
that would connect them.
I don't think it is. A lot of people do, and I don't think it is. I think it makes perfect sense. And like, if he says Martha, Batman's he's going to be hit on a personal level. It just makes sense. Like, if anybody says that, and Superman said it, and then Lois,
it's his defining. Yeah, it's the death of his parents is his defining thing. Like that is his. That is what made him him. Yeah. That is what changed everything for him.
Yeah.
And same with Clark Kent arriving in Kansas and having Jonathan and Martha Kent as his parents, defining moment in his life that created who he is.
Yeah. And by the way, the warehouse scene is incredible, by the way, with Batman. That is incredibly well done action. I agree. That is like probably my favorite scene in the movie is the warehouse scene.
Yeah. The action overall, I think, is done incredibly well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not too cut. It doesn't cut away too much. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, there's not too much CGI that I don't know what's going on. Like,
true.
It's very clear who's throwing what punches and everything. Like, and it's entertaining, and like you feel. I felt the emotion and intensity in each fight.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, but I felt like this scene at the end here, the warehouse scene, and like I love the line, by the way, the I'm a friend of your son's. I figured the cape, and then I like his little nod that he gives to. He's like, it's so good. Like that played so incredibly well.
Yeah.
I love Diane Lane as Martha, by the way. Like,
I
Superman.
agree.
She's so good in this role. And,
she is really good.
Yeah. Love it. And another thing that, speaking of her, we got to see Kevin Costner for a little bit as well, back as his father, when Superman went up to the mountains there, which I thought was a really nice moment. It's kind of weird to me that that's like the thing that kind of brought him back, but like on the same hand, it's like I get it, because they were like kind of making connections to it this entire time. Like they were, it was kind of set up to be that in a way. So it's definitely one of the things that was done better for sure in the movie, was that like he goes up there, he sees Pa Kent, and I think that that stuff, it works good enough. And I like seeing Kevin Costner back in that role, and he's good in that role. But so the warehouse scene happens, that stuff is just incredibly amazing. Incredible. And then my biggest problem with the action in this movie comes up here when Doomsday comes out, because them fighting Doomsday was like, Doomsday is way too over the top. Like,
I agree.
He doesn't fit the rest of this film.
Yeah.
He doesn't belong in this movie in particular, in my opinion.
He's MacGuffin 101. He's like one of the textbook definitions of a MacGuffin of we need Superman to die somehow. Oh, I guess we'll figure it out because it's convenient. There are multiple things about. I don't think the script is particularly good, and I blame Chris Terrio for all of it. I blame Chris Terrio for a lot of things, including this. But the script. There are so many lines that bother me, and so many things that happen merely for out of convenience, and so many things change out of nowhere, and you're just supposed to accept it because it's convenient to the plot.
Yeah.
And like Doomsday is one of those things.
Yeah.
He's just there because the plot needs Superman to die.
And I agree with you. I agree with you on every point there for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I think it's still entertaining to like watch Wonder Woman kick ass and all them kick ass against Doomsday. But like, I just felt like the character itself was way too over the top, did not belong in the moment. Just And the other thing is here,
and he looks stupid. Like, it's like just like visually.
Honest, this is one of the stupid. More exactly. But the other thing about it is that for me, like, I like the fact that they wanted to quote unquote kill Superman at the end of this movie. I don't want you to get me wrong. I get what you're saying, as it was definitely used as a plot device, and just like, we need something here, so we're gonna shove him in. Definitely.
For good cause, though.
100%.
For good cause, because I do love the ending.
Yeah, because the ending is great. Like, the fact that they actually found a way to kill Superman at all, quote unquote, is actually really cool. Because again, one of the things I love about the Superman is that, it was a Superman that struggled, like, and he makes mistakes, but he also sacrificed himself for the greater good. And I wish that the Doomsday thing would have been set up a little bit better, and just, all that. And even in the Ultimate Cut, I feel that way. Like, this is something that's carried over even in the Ultimate Cut of the film, that Doomsday just does feel just slightly shoehorned in there. And it's unfortunate, because like, Wonder Woman showing up is awesome, and the interaction that they have, where, is she with you? I thought she was with you. Like, that's so great. It's so good. Like, those two working together, like the camaraderie that we feel in this triangle is really, really awesome, in my opinion. And unfortunately, they had to shoehorn a plot device here at the end with Doomsday, and it's so unfortunate, because this could have been something even better, in my opinion. And like, I love the way that Snyder shoots the action. Like, I don't want anybody to get me wrong here. Like, I think that the action still remains entertaining, because he shoots it well, and it looks good in that respect. But to me, it's, like you were saying, he's shoehorned in. It's a plot device. It's like, we need Superman to die somehow. It's kind of the same thing of Lois needs to throw the staff so she can go dive in the water later. And
we just forgot the staff in the warehouse. We're just gonna leave it in the middle of the city for God knows who to find. Thank God Lois picked it. I was like, you just left a Kryptonian weapon lying around Gotham City?
Yeah, there's that whole thing. So like, they definitely tried to like put in some plot conveniences here toward the end and things like that. So that's obviously a problem with the movie. But
also a smaller one that actually did bother me, that if this is explained in the extended cut, please let me know. But how like they're at like Clark Kent's official funeral, and Martha walks in and like gives her the package that has the engagement ring in it, and she goes, "Clark sent this to you to surprise you." And I was like, when?
Yeah.
But when? He didn't know. You're telling me when? I was like, it's sweet and everything. Like, I was like, oh, that's sweet. Blah, blah, blah. But when did that happen? How did was he planning this? Did he have a trip home planned? Was this like gonna happen soon? How?
Yeah,
that was like, it's just, again, these screenwriting things that they just like, they were like, oh, who cares?
I hate to break it to you, but you'll have to email Chris Terrio at christerrio.com to get that answer for you. Or I'm sorry, Chris Terrio at christerrio.christerrio. That's where you're gonna have to email him to get the answer to that, because I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
No, but I'm assuming his email is just his name, like all across the board. He seems very full of himself. But this isn't a Chris Terrio hate session, so let's move on. The ending where him and Affleck and Gal Gadot are talking at the funeral, like, I find that to be really, really a great scene. Like, it's really setting up the Justice League. By the way, the reveal of when Batfleck sends Gal Gadot the hard drive over, like, and says, like, I cracked the hard drive, and then she's opening up, like, all the things. I love that, by the way. I love that. That is awesome. Like, when she's seeing everybody.
The The only thing I really don't like about that is I just don't like how they all have icons already.
I
Because
agree.
again,
I agree.
how do they know? How do you just know? You
I,
just know that's a cyborg. You just
I,
know that's icon already.
I can't disagree with that one point, but
That
like
bothered me.
I can't disagree with that one point because they do have their
Yeah,
logos already kind of set for them. But take that away, the fact
yeah.
that like she's
Wonder
seeing
Woman maybe could forgive that one. Only
maybe
one.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But just the way that she's watching it and her reaction and the way it's all cut together and then the score that's going on, it all really just makes for like a really impactful scene. But I do agree with you on the symbol fact, like the logo thing. Like that's definitely one of those things that's like to me just pretty crazy, but
Mhm.
and just like it's convenient, right, that the logos are already kind of preset there, for sure. But yeah, I mean, what's your favorite moment of the movie, and just in general? Do you have like a particular favorite that you could
Mm,
pop in with?
let me think. Honestly, maybe just Jeremy Irons
Fair enough.
existing in this movie.
Yeah, I'm still gonna
Yeah.
go the warehouse scene for me. I think the
The,
warehouse scene was the best one,
yeah.
but yeah, that's
I also
true.
do really, yeah. I do also really love the scene where Superman's walking into the Congress building
Yes,
and just like,
yes.
because like I just like you just totally feel the weight of all of that. I love that part.
Yeah, that's another casting I wanted to
And
shout out
and the
here.
grannies, the whole thing with the grannies,
Granny's peach tea was
peach
really good.
tea, and like the way Holly Hunter played that, like just
Yes.
so horrifying.
Yes, the Granny's
Yeah.
peach teeth aspect is like the best aspect of Lex Luthor, surprisingly, in this movie is the whole Granny's peach tea thing. But
Yeah.
then, like, yeah, the way that I mean, Holly Hunter is Senator. I can't remember her name. She does a really good job in the film. Like,
Hmm.
Holly Hunter is always great, but like, yeah, she just really does a great job in the film. And
Yeah.
yeah, that scene is really really good because then you're really feeling the impact. Like all the people who died in there. It's just like, oh man, that's like a really hard hitting scene because yeah, I don't know, it feels like you're starting to see the plan come into place that Lex was kind of putting together, whether you understood that plan from the beginning or not because it was so convoluted is a different thing, but like when you see the plan start to really come into place, I think that's just like a really really cool thing. But I
Hmm.
don't know, that's just me. But yeah, so overall, my overall thoughts just closing out here, has to be, just I find the movie to be incredibly entertaining, till this day. I do, like, despite all the problems that it has, and it does have many, I see a good movie in this theatrical cut. But I think that the movie, I still have so much fun watching it for some reason. I don't know what it is. Like, even though it's got the Cuddy problems and all that, it's entertaining. Like, I can't take that away from it. Like, it's a really entertaining flick. I like a lot of the casting for the most part. And yeah, that's kind of my overall closing thoughts here. But Sammy, anything you want to add there? Or
I mean, I agree. Upon this second, it's the only second time I've seen this movie all the way through, and I liked it a lot better this time. I do think a lot. I remember towards the beginning you were saying that like a big part of the theatrical cut is you kind of have to put the pieces together yourself and try to figure it out because and then the versus the extended cut, it like just has more scenes to explain these things to you. And I think that's really where it does fall flat, where
yeah,
it's choppy and there's a lot of things going on and yet you're still confused about everything. And I think with the first time I saw it, that was just all too much. And now that I know a bit more of not only like the characters and where the story's going, and I've just seen a lot more superhero films that I can, and I've seen more films now, that is just easier for me to, for my brain to put those pieces together than it was the first time I saw it. But
right.
I don't think that like that I don't think that that's a success if you make your
No.
audience ask too many questions that they get confused.
Yeah, no, it
But
just, and
yeah.
the other thing is too, with the extension put on it, or and the retooling of the movie in the ultimate cut, because not only is it extended, it's restructured in a way that makes it even better. But like the whole thing with the ultimate cut is just, it flows a lot better than this one too. It's not just about answers, because I don't mind ambiguity, but like if it's ambiguity that doesn't flow right, like can tell when there's bumps in the road. You know what I mean? And
Oh, for
like,
sure.
and like with this film, there definitely is. But we're gonna talk about the ultimate cut, guys. So look out for that review coming up here shortly after this one. Yeah, we did a whole review on that. It's gonna be great. Because I personally actually enjoyed that one more than this one. Still has problems for sure, and some of them are still carried over, but I've seen the complete vision in that one more. So make sure you guys look out for that ultimate cut review coming up here shortly. But we're gonna wrap this one up. We got to get going, and but first of all, I wanted to let Sammy plug where can people find you.
Yes, you can find me over on Instagram at Sammy Ramirez14, as well as Twitter and Stereo at Sammy Ramirez.
And for myself, you can find me at Dom _ Martino _ on Twitter and Dom _ Martino _ official on Instagram. And guys, also make sure you follow us on Stereo at Sammy Ramirez and at Dom Martino. We've been doing a lot of shows over there. It's been a really great way to interact with all of you guys, and we're feeling the community come in a lot closer that way, and it's been more fun to do those lately, honestly, and we're having a really good time. So make sure you go follow us over there, and follow our social media to keep up with when we're gonna go live. But yeah, anyway, the other thing I wanted to plug here, and I feel like I never do this for some reason, but you can follow the Anorax accounts at Anorax Official on Twitter and Anorax Official on Instagram. So make sure you do that as well. And guys, if you haven't done so already, once again, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, and share this with your friends. That is much appreciated. And we are gonna get going, guys, but we appreciate you joining in for the DCEU review. The ultimate cut is the next review, so make sure you look out for that coming up here really shortly. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.